go.
On TSN.
Is this what day is this?
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Here we go, OverDrive, off and running, TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles McLennan, Frankie Corrado in here. How are we doing this afternoon? How's everybody doing?
I think it's very appropriate that the sun was out today, and maybe if you were driving around Hazy B, you thought to yourself, we could be teeing it sooner rather than later. And isn't that fitting, given the performance that the Toronto Maple Leafs have had over the past couple days, to think about teeing it?
Yeah, you know what? It is interesting because I've had these chats like the last 9 years. They've been in the playoffs, and
right.
You know, you've been kind of planning for the playoffs and what's that going to look like, and what are you going to do with the show, and you going down to the games, and you know, how's TSN Hockey going to handle it, and Sports Center and everything. And now it's kind of a foregone conclusion. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know, they're not going to make it. They've never really been in the playoffs at any point all season. And you're right, it was beautiful. Sun's out. I read today it's going to be maybe like 20 degrees in Toronto in like a couple of weeks. So there you go. Everything's coming together here. Everything's going to be okay.
You got to take the positive. But, yeah, man, like that's – I don't know. I wasn't on the show, obviously, yesterday, but, Hayes, how did you guys tee it up? Were you expecting a response game? Because I think Tampa's a great – like, I really like Tampa.
Really good
I've been consistent with that. So I'll throw the Tampa game away because I think Tampa showed how good they can be. They were really good the other night. 4-2 was a generous score, put it that way. I felt, anyways, a couple goals called back. Last night I expected a response game from the Maple Leafs. That doesn't mean that the Florida Panthers can't show up and play, but I just expected, okay, you don't play that well the night before in Tampa. You got your game, you know, the cobwebs off kind of. I thought the team that played the night before might be have a little bit more advantageous because they're back in game tempo type of thing. Back-to-back didn't matter to me. It's just game tempo. That wasn't the case. It looked like
No,
and I know you were going to reference like the Carlo Morgan Rielly top thing.
It didn't even count. It's not even consequential in the game. It's so far gone before that. And I guess my question to you, Jamie, would be if you thought there was going to be a response, who the hell was it coming from?
Well,
like, who was going to give you the performance outside of maybe the goalie standing on his head that you said, that guy, there's no way he's going to lose 2 games in a row, and there's no way he's going to come out with a bad performance against the Panthers. I don't see who that is right now.
34 and 88, I would have liked. Like, those are the guys that are playing on the biggest stage and playing at the highest tempo. I'll be honest. Wednesday night, I watched a lot of games, and I thought every Olympian stunk, to be honest. Like that.
It's reasonable, though.
But it's reasonable. I mean, you know, but the extra night, I'm thinking, okay, because last night, like Brady Tkachuk, Dylan Larkin, the ones that I watched, they were difference makers in the game. That extra night's sleep probably helped. So I'm sitting there thinking, Thursday, it's going to be Nylander's night. It's going to be Matthews' night. It's going to be, you know, and they had chances. Don't get me wrong. I think goalie Bob made some good saves, but you know it wasn't a performance that inspired you. Put it that way.
No, exactly. And you know, now everyone's trying to figure out: is it mental? Is it coaching? Is it personnel? And in reality, it's probably just a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, like I think a lot of teams that had belief that they could, you know, have a great unofficial second half probably were chomping at the bit to get out there and prove it. And I'm not sure the Leafs ever really believed based on the 2 performances. You know, and that's simply an intangible conversation. That's not X's and O's and what we saw. But I do think the mentality of Tampa coming out of the chute. Florida last night, I don't think Florida's going to make the playoffs, but I think they realized throughout the break, we better come out hot.
Give yourself a chance.
We have to be inspired immediately and come out flying. And they proved that they did that. Again, it doesn't really change it for me. I don't think they're going to make it, but they made that statement. Tampa was well into the playoffs, but they were dying to get back because they can smell a Stanley Cup. Right? They're like, get us back. Feels to me like the Leafs, they got on vacation and they said, we have to play 25 more games. Like that's kind of what it looked like the last 2 nights. Like we have to play 25.
It's a formality. We got to go out there and we got to play, and it's a formality. And it was I don't know if I'm shocked. Like I think the whole thing of like the sun coming out today, my whole point in that is like there's no more guessing anymore. We have our answer. We know what this team is. They're not going to make the playoffs. We know exactly what direction they're going to go in, and they're doing a lot of weird stuff right now. And I think if you're a star player on that team, you're probably watching what's happening, and you're almost like laughing or giggling to yourself saying like, what's next? Like do these guys in charge know what they're doing? And if so, like what is that next move going to look like? Because we always put it at the hands of like 2 or 3 guys. The fact of the matter is it takes more than 2 or 3 guys to win games consistently. So what's the rest of the team look like? Why is a guy like Easton Cowan not playing? Like all these things just don't make sense with this team right now, but maybe it does make sense because they're not a very good team and they're not going to make the playoffs and they got a lot of work to do. That's as simple as that.
1 week today, we will have our answer as to what they've decided as far as personnel coming in, going out. That's, it's week today, trade deadline. 8 points out, all of that type of stuff. White flag, not white flag. Decisions in the pathway have to be made of where we're going with the organization. I'm saying we, that's Brad Treliving, his management group, Keith Pelly, all of that. Pelly put out the letter the other day or whatever it was, the email saying, we're trying to win. I don't, paraphrasing. But they've got big decisions to make. The easy ones are, what do you do with Bobby McMahon, Scott Lawton, right? Because they're pending unrestricted free agents. Mm-hmm. It's more as to what are you doing with the rest of the group? And what is, if you're going to do the Boston Bruins from last year, what does that look like? And then what's the objective? What's this team going to look like by Christmas next year? Is it going to be infused with younger players? Are you going to try and revamp the D? Where are you comfortable at within your lineup, and where do you feel the pressure points and need to change? Those all questions probably need to be somewhat answered in the next week, and then certainly answered in the offseason with free agency.
Yeah,
stuff.
And more stuff can happen in the offseason, but
right.
You have to also determine, what is available to you, because I think it's become very clear that they need to get younger. They need to, I think, get more speed in their lineup. They need to be able to move the puck better. These are 3 objectives that I think anyone that's been watching this team has realized are pretty clear cut. They've gotten old pretty quick. They're pretty slow. Like we were saying this back in camp, watching them, like, man, they look pretty old and slow. And then you play slow, and their transition game isn't there. The puck movement isn't there. And that's what's really struggled the last couple of nights. They look very stale, as a team and as a system and everything. But, you can have those objectives, which I'm sure they do. Right. But if you can't fulfill them, then that, offers up other challenges. You can't just go find a bunch of guys in their early 20s. You can't just go find 2 or 3 puck-moving defensemen who are immediately going to change the complexion of your team. That's not available to you very easily. So it's a challenge from that standpoint. And listen, at this point, it's a bad season. It's just been a tough season the whole year. Like there's no other way to paint it. Doesn't matter if you're the most eternal optimist, eternal pessimist. And I'm not even talking 3-5 years down the road or what's happened in the past. If we're just looking at this season, it's been tough. They've never been in the playoffs. Never. At one point, when they went on that 8-0-2 run, they snuck in by like a point. And like 24 hours later, they're already on the outside looking in. They've never been a playoff team at any point. They've never offered up much confidence if you're the fans to watch it and think this is going to turn a corner. This is not unpredictable. Right. We've been bracing for this for 60 games. Yeah, so really. This is where they're at. This is the reality. It is what it is. It's imperative they find a way to make sure it's just a bad season, right? Instead of a bad team and a bad era that's about to hit. We talked about that yesterday. Like that's what's lurking. You're a couple of wrong moves away from it getting exponentially worse. Right. They're not a complete disaster. They're not a mess.
No, there's framework there.
It's been a bad year. They haven't played well. They've never looked good. And, I do think we're going to have the coaching conversation a lot between now and the end of the year. Because
how can you not?
Yeah, the last two games, if you're Craig Berube, like they're talking about it in L.A., like how does Jim Hiller possibly survive that? How does like they got pumped twice out of the break? Like Berube's got to be thinking, man, I've been in the league a long time. This isn't great. Like they're not really picking up on my messaging right now.
The evidence is there, man. Listen, you don't want to kick a guy when he's down, clearly, but like with the way the team has performed, I think it's a valid conversation to have. It's just the team that you're talking about, Brian. I think like where you're talking about a bad year and it's just, hey, we'll show up next year and it might be different. It's the Florida Panthers. Like that team's been decimated by injuries, and it starts with Barkov. And at one point, they're having 8 or 9 regulars out of the lineup. All the guys that won cups are under contract. They're all coming back. Just this year's the bad year. They'll flip the switch next year and show up and be a good team. Can you honestly say that you have the same faith Toronto can do that?
It's a great point, Frankie. I could say no, but if I'm Keith Pelly, I think what you say is everybody's under evaluation. Like you have to look at the manager, you got to look at the coach, and you got to look at the roster construction and the players. And outside of a few guys that you have on term contracts that you want, again, the framework, that's when you start to go, okay, where do we go from here? And, I think in the next week, you have to make some moves just for the sake of business, because you've got, it's roster management, it's asset management. But you have to decide who's driving the bus moving forward. If you have full confidence in Brad Treliving, then it's him that executes the plan. If you add to, we talked about Brendan Shanahan's role not getting filled. Maybe there is a scenario where you bring in more smart hockey people to help support the situation, because they have nothing but money and resources. Like MLSE's not cheap. That's the thing. They're not cheap, and they will spend the money for the best people. But all these decisions, these things have to be put in place here. Again, is the coach, like you brought up, Frankie, is the coach a guy who's they believe in?
By the way,
forward?
Very well-respected coach, right? Like you talk to guys that have played for him, they all love him. Very well-respected guy. No one's going to deny anything of that nature. It's just clear, like it just hasn't gone well on the ice this season. Maybe you get more than that, but maybe you get more runway than that. But that's just how it's looked so far.
And it's by no means saying the reason they're here is because of Berube. It's obviously deeper than that. Like the players haven't performed well enough. Management's got to own a lot of this too. Brad Treliving hasn't done a lot this year. He claimed Troy Stetcher. He fired Mark Savard. That's it. He's just let him play. And that may be because there's no options out there. I don't know what the reasoning is.
Well,
he'd have to give us that answer.
Currency, Brian. Like we talk about it, they don't have a lot. Like if you want to be in on a player, the one thing I always hear, it's like, if Tree's in on this player X, player Y, what was he giving back? Like that's the thing. They don't. You've got a first in 2028.
Which you cannot trade.
Right, and you've got Easton Cowan.
You obviously cannot trade.
You've got Easton Cowan. You've got Ben Danford. You've got, I think there has to be an overall, like, hey, you've got to restock the cupboards here. The Marlies, I pay attention to the Marlies quite a bit.
There's not a lot there. There might be a couple players who can play for you.
But at the end of the day, you look through the AHL, every team's got 3 or 4 prospects. Frankie, you do the Montreal Canadiens. I talked to somebody in the AHL yesterday, said they've got about 4 guys that can play in the NHL right now that are coming.
They do. Yeah, they do. And they might use one of those guys and try and do something big, whether it's at the deadline or next summer. But so here's the thing. An organization like Montreal might have 4 or 5 guys that could step into the NHL. Toronto's got 1 guy. It's Easton Cowan. And now he's come out of the break 2 games in a row, and he hasn't played. And I find this crazy. Josh Cloak wrote about this in The Athletic. And if you were a waiver-exempt player, so a guy on your entry level, you go up and down, no problem. But if you played 16 of your team's 20 games before the break, you couldn't go down. You had to take the Olympic break.
Right.
They played him 17 games, so he couldn't go down and play for the Marlies. And then the 2 games after the break, they're refusing to play the kid. That makes no sense. Like, why would they do something like this? If you want to showcase Calle Yarncroke or Dakota Joshua, Like, teams know what those guys are.
Yeah, there's no
and if you want to showcase them, don't play them. You're probably better off not playing them at that point. I think it's crazy what they're doing with the one prospect they have. They're messing around with the kid, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, after next Friday, he's going to play, and I would think it should be after the last two games. Like if the veterans are going to play like that, and you don't send a message that the kid's going in and other players are playing, like that's another thing about. Again, Craig Berube and I think Brad Treliving, like the coach and the GM they work together on a lot of different things. Yep. They have not really sent a message at any point this year, in terms of sitting guys. Yeah, Calle Yarncroke comes in and out. Every 25 games, he sits Willie for 2 shifts. Like Berube just kind of rolls out the same guys. Morgan Rielly, you're playing 20 minutes tonight. Whatever, go play. Like there's not even an attempt to change anything up. Coming out of the break, same lines, same deep pairings, just go play. Doesn't work. We're getting caved in, whatever. All right, we'll move on to Saturday. Like, there's just nothing fresh. It's stale. It's going to be a grind for 23 games, man.
Well, so why not play the kid then? That's my point, right?
Well, because they
get a little
think
speed,
they
a little
can win, or they were trying to win.
They're trying to win, yeah.
Yeah, and that is what makes it even more shocking the last 2 nights, is that you would sit him. To win.
You're trying to win, but you're sitting the kid. I don't know. I think he's better than the depth options that they have. It kind of like he's definitely he's a much better player, much more highly touted prospect. But I know this world, this healthy scratch world, when you're like a young kid. It reads to me that like someone wants you to play, someone doesn't want you to play, and there's a little bit of a game of chicken happening. That's what happened to me. That's firsthand experience. Is that the case here? I don't know. But that's my experience living it.
Yeah, and usually it's the coach that's making that call. Right?
You're right. And the coach is trying to win games because they come back and they're like, we talked about it 2 days ago. They're probably looking at it saying we need to go 16-9 or 17-8, whatever it is. There's a belief that they can get it done because you're playing against teams that are fighting for it as well. You go 0-2 out of the break and don't look overly inspired. Now, I will say, again, goaltending, Bobrovsky played well last night, and I thought Vasilevsky was really good when the Leafs did have looks. But, Tampa was a different
That's not why they lost. Yeah.
No,
they deserve to lose both games.
They deserve to lose both games. But the point being is, I think the roster, obviously, like a guy like Easton Cowan, I agree with you, Brian. I think, 8 days from now, he's in the lineup every night. And you give him the experience, you give him the belief. They've got to figure out, moving forward, who they want in the program, short-term for the rest of the season, and then long-term, what is this going to look like? And I mean long-term into next season. And furthermore, Austin Matthews, is he happy? I mean, I think he's a guy who's in.
Who knows? There's a lot of craziness going on right now. Everything's going to blow over, and he'll be in town tomorrow. I'm sure they'll do something before the game or during the first break, and I would think he'll get a big ovation, and he deserves it. He earned it. He went over and won. It was an incredible accomplishment. He played great for them. And he's your guy if you're a Leaf fan.
Exactly.
I get you're not happy. He wasn't great the last 2 nights. He hasn't had a great year. He's got to own that. But the last 2 games was telling, and obviously sets you up for what needs to happen. Now the question is, are there going to be that many buyers? Are there too many sellers? How valuable are your pieces? This is another thing that doesn't come up all the time, because everyone gets caught up in their own bubble. Bobby McMahon, what is he really worth league-wide?
That's a great question right there.
How much do people really die for Bobby McMahon? I know he plays on the top line here. On a cup-contending team, he's nowhere close to a top line.
Put Bobby McMahon, do an exercise. Put Bobby McMahon on a bunch of teams that are trying to contend for a cup. Put him on Colorado. Where does he play?
Well, I think to me, he's a top 9.
He's on the third line.
Third line.
Sure. Doesn't mean he's not a good player, valuable player.
No slight on Bobby McMahon.
Good player.
It's not a slight to Bobby McMahon. It's just it's what you're talking about is like, do we overvalue him? Like, if you think you're getting a first for sure, it's like, I don't know. What if we show up next Friday and there's no first happening for Bobby McMahon? I think you still have to make the trade regardless, if it's a second or whatever. But
it could be a second and a third, whatever it is, or it could be you depending on what the package is. This is the stuff that I heard even today in talking to some people. Keep in mind, there's a lot of teams that are probably going to be shuffling the deck and moving players around. Currency is contracts too. So you know, a team that wants to get player X, well, they might have we'll call it quote unquote bad contract that they have to package in that deal to make it work financially. So you might get a player in a Bobby McMahon trade that is going to be here the rest of this year. But it's like, you know, we got to make the numbers work.
Yeah, you need the contract. You need something expiring that you can just, you know, say be gone.
That's fine because the Leafs again aren't going to go to the playoffs. So go ahead.
Right. So
take on whatever you got to take on.
You got to take on, but again, you got to take a look at what if you can get a first. Let's just say out of McMahon. It might be because you're taking back money and a bad contract that needs to clear it up and all of that type of stuff. There's going to be some wild things I think happen. You know, again, I've been saying.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But
yeah, but
I think Leaf fans. I guess what I'm getting to is, you know, there's a perfect world where you clear out, you know, 20% of the roster. That's not going to happen. You know, like Max Domi and Morgan Rielly aren't being traded by next Friday. Morgan Riley's a Leaf as of next Saturday.
I think those are off-season situations.
Yeah, if you can. And again, with Rielly, it's particularly delicate because he's been a great Leaf. He's been here for so long. He's the longest-serving Leaf. He's up there all time in games played, points by a defenseman. You know, he's worn the Leaf with pride. He's been a great Torontonian for a long time.
Yes, that's it. The fan base very connected to him. Watched him grow up. Like it's a great story from start to finish. It's just you're 12 years later.
And it's not a scenario where people are now reacting to his play, and I don't think they're being unfair. It's not that people are, you know, it's not a run out of town thing. It's his play. He looks very uncomfortable playing every night. Like, I don't know how else to put it. He looks like he knows he's in a really bad place on the ice. And, you know, last night, again, the video coach, who's the team's MVP this year, saved him from this goal ever being in a top 10 blooper list because it didn't count in the end. But that's a wild scene, man. He just blows a wheel and runs in.
Honestly, I feel very bad for him in that situation. Like, Morgan Rielly's a much better player than what he's shown this season. And it just, you know, if even last year, like, I know he was emotional in the exit meeting and said he can be better and will be better. He's such a likable guy. It's just, I watched that and it sucks, man. It sucks to see it go like that for him. He's a better player than that. That's like Benny Hill theme music kind of stuff.
It's really, it's been going in this direction though for a few years with him. You know, like it's kind of been tailing off, and I just think he needs a fresh start. I think and I think he can play somewhere else. I think he could have an Ekman Larson resurgence, get out, fresh start, different responsibilities, a different town and team that, you know, isn't aware of his whole history and everything. Not that there's anything bad about his history, but the point being is the build-up here in Toronto. I don't know how you salvage it anymore. I don't know how you can rely on him to get back into the good books of the team and everything.
It is like it's a scenario, too, where he's on an island. Like, I don't know. When's the last time he had – was it Tanev? Like, when's the last time he had a stable partner that helped him? You know what
Carlo
I mean?
last year when he arrived –
yeah.
Like when Carlo got acquired down the stretch, Carlo, I thought, did actually help him.
And you know, it's
but it
hard.
Can't always be that's been 13 years of that, Noodles. He needs a partner. It's like, man, you're making 7-5. You're a vet. Come on. You're
right. But the thing is that's one thing I think Toronto has always missed. If Morgan's not a number one, which I think a lot of people really believe he's a top pairing guy, but they've never had a top pairing defensive core, you know, to help. Like, Frankie, you could speak to it a lot better than anybody. Like, your partner is somebody you have to rely on, and it's give and go. Like, you know, yin and yang.
I've seen the list. Like, I saw it firsthand, right? Like, from whether it was Polak or Carrick or Zaitsev, or then it was Ron Hainsey was the best partner of all. Then it was Luke Shen. Yep. It was Ilya Lyubushkin. It was, I mean, Cody Ceci at one point. Tyson Barrie. Like, go through the list of guys. There's like, I want to say there's 15 partners that have, you know, had some kind of consistent playing time with Morgan Rielly. It's just that, maybe they've never had the perfect partner. Maybe Ron Hainsey was the guy at one point, but It's just, the way it's fallen off, it's hard to see for a guy that has been such a likable and still is a likable guy in this city. But it has.
TJ Brody was a decent pair.
TJ Brody was a couple
Brody
years.
was great.
That was good.
So again, we're answering the question. He's had a couple of good, and he was playing well at that point. You know, you could play him beside Cale Makar. It's not changing what he's doing right now. I'm sorry. It's a Morgan Rielly issue. It's not a deep partner, and it may be a systems thing. You know, the whole season's in a bad place. Right. It just he's in a bad place, man. Every night it's a real struggle.
Yeah, I also think. I mean, my point was that maybe he's miscast. Maybe he's better off in a second pairing, and not up against other teams' best. At this point. Yeah. That's the reality of it.
That's very true. I don't think they have a top pairing defenseman. That's a problem right now. Clearly. Like they don't have anyone that's playing like a top pair. They have a lot of 4s, 5s, and 6s, and that's why they're in the trouble they're in. All right, Mike Johnson coming up. Bruce will join us today. We're a week away from the trade deadline. We've got the World Baseball Classic right around the corner, the Combine down in Indianapolis. There's some good video coming out of that. We'll play it. Frankie's in here. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I need you to hold on. Heaven is a place not too far
Overdrive
away.
continues, powered by FanDuel. We got Brucey coming up a little bit later this afternoon. We'll get to our best bets. We got, again, the WBC around the corner. We've got the Combine in Indianapolis, a video I want to play later on. But the Leafs are back home tomorrow night, Battle of Ontario tomorrow, and they're coming off not the greatest trip through Florida, like to put it lightly. Not the greatest trip.
No.
But there's a lot going on in the NHL, and we're a week away from the deadline. Here's our TSN hockey analyst, Mike Johnson. How you doing, Johnny?
What's going on, fellas? Hey, did you see, I don't want to, spoiler alert, did you see the bench press video at the Combine?
No, I have not seen that yet.
This guy ripped off 49 reps at 225. 49! It was absurd. I think it's the most ever. I think the previous record was 45. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
49 is absurd because the first, 20 he would have thrown up in 25 seconds.
First
it would have
35, it was a warm-up. Like, he wasn't even – it was like he was doing the bar.
Right.
I don't even like football. Like, I mean, I like football, but I'm not like that diehard. But I don't know what it is about the Combine. I just find myself watching it, like the jumping and the times 40s and everything else. I get totally into it.
Are you kidding me?
This guy's insane.
That's
Look at this
huge
guy.
amount of weight, man. The amount of plates, that's absurd. To hit 49, and his stock will now skyrocket. If he was a fourth-round pick, he's going in the second just because of that. That's how much the Combine can affect some guys' stock. Because it can go the other way, too, right? If you can't do anything, you're toast.
If you don't have the strength or something that they're looking for, and you're projected a second-rounder, can you drop that much based on what they, in
you're
the
an
weight
offensive
room?
lineman, short arms and can't bench well, done. You're out.
No, it's true. You think about Sam Bennett, right? The no pull-up thing didn't really hurt him. He was drafted 4th overall, whatever. But I think if you can go, way back in the day, there was a guy, I think he was coming out of Boston College, and he basically just trained early days for the Combine. He was supposed to be like a third-rounder or something, and he just crushed the Combine, rocketed to the first round. And he didn't have a great career because he just worked out well to do well in these tests. So it can cut both ways. But there's that guy, and there's a tight end from Georgia who's 6'7", 260, and a standing stationary vertical, 44 inches.
Wow.
40. I'm just throw the ball 12 and a half feet in the air. Nobody else can catch it. I was anyways, I got in the rabbit hole.
It's incredible, man.
Combine highlights.
The Combine highlights are unreal because you can see some of them all-time greats. They're up there. And the NFL Network is breaking it down like it's an election night coverage. They've got guys on the field. They've got a 15-man panel, and they're breaking down linemen running the 40. It's crazy. But that's the engine that is the NFL. It's wild.
We should do a trade center Combine.
We should do that.
Let's bring in for some slow time or whatever during that day. Bring in the bike. Let's do the Wingate. Let's do the jump and just run everyone through it. See how we do.
What kind of weights would we need to even get everyone involved? I can't put up 220. No one can put up 225. I don't think.
Nah, I don't. Yeah.
I couldn't do 225 today. No way.
Is 225?
2 plates is 225. Yeah. I can't do that today. I'll admit that.
No chance.
I'm man enough to admit that.
Yes. No chance.
I could do 205. I believe. I think I could get to 205 once. But
pretty good.
That's very good. That's still very good.
Honest to God, we used to have in St. Louis late 90s. We used to have one plate on each side. So what was that?
That's 135.
135.
Tony Twist did it 55 times.
Yeah.
And it was,
that sounds about right.
It was Twister was 6 feet 250.
We should get
bored.
The sports science people from University of Toronto to come in and do the Wingate and the VO2 and just yell at the top of their lungs 2 feet away from your face. Push! Go!
That's what's so
they
annoying.
do. Is the Wingate the one with the 25 seconds they drop the weight on the...
So you start pedaling your feet as fast as you can, and then the weight drops and you feel like you're going to fall over the bike.
Yes, yeah.
They would need insurance. TSN, someone would go down.
Yeah, there would have to be an ambulance. Ambulance would be there. I remember, and Mika Kiprusoff would get on and just pedal the bike for a little bit and then just get off and walk away. Like there was no – he played 7 years of 70-plus games. Like this guy, because he knew exactly what he needed. And, I'll go back even further. Billy Smith, our goalie coach with the Islanders, he said, I'd never seen an exercise bike stop a puck. We're going to play tennis.
Perfect.
And that was it. Like, it was awesome.
Agility, hand-eye.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the leader. That's the kind of leadership that wins you 4 cups in a row.
That's a foxhole guy.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, man. TSN, we do massive ratings if there was, like, someone getting run out of.
Oh, my God.
Al's brother on the Wingate.
Yes. Like, it would be dicey, but, man, it would be compelling TV.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think the one that would surprise people the most if we ever tried to do a 40, because I think everyone watches the 40, I'm like, oh, I'm sure I could do it in 5 seconds. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, look at those big guys where I could do 5.2. And I know you guys had your own Olympics with O and Al's brother, but, like, we would be churning out 6s and 7s and 8s. They'd be like, God, are we slow? It's
Definitely.
awful. Awful.
100%.
Embarrassing.
Especially in suits, and it would not be good.
Yeah.
Again, very compelling, very good TV. It's got a lot of potential in it. So the Leafs, obviously, I think everyone's on the same page now, right, Johnny? Like, I don't think there's no one's confused, no one's thinking, well, maybe if they do this, like, it just kind of feels like.
So was last night, Brian? Sorry to interrupt.
For me, it was
last night done?
I think they've been done for weeks, Noodles, months, quite frankly.
But I'm talking from 8 points out. Like now, Johnny, I don't even know what the metrics or numbers are, but like.
Oh, it's like 3% chance or something. Technically, they're still alive, but.
Right.
Seems
they're not, though. I mean, we ran the numbers. So, like, I suggested right now the eighth place team is on pace for 99 points. But I'm saying even if you wanted 97 points, so like lower than the current pace, to get to that mark, they were going to need, 34 points in their last 25 games, now 24 games. This year, including that run where they won like 9 of 10, they've never got 34 points in 25 games. Not once. Last year, in a year where they won the division, the most they ever got in a 25-game span was 35 points. They won the division, and they got there by 1 point. So to think that they're going to do it in the next 25, now 24 games, whatever it is, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And there's just too many teams around them. Whatever the numbers are, of course, as athletes, we tell ourselves it's possible. We can go on a run. We're going to play hard for each other. We believe until we can't. The numbers are the numbers. They're just so far back, it's just not going to happen.
Johnny, when you watch this team play and you see what's going on the back end, is this a good example of what can happen if you take things too far the other way? Like, I think there was always this notion that the Leafs decor wasn't heavy enough, wasn't hard enough to play against. Like, did they go too much the other way now, and this is what they're stuck with?
I think, Frankie, that can be said on a lot of fronts. Probably a case for the value of Chris Tanev as well, and how much he sort of made other stuff made sense last year. I think you forget that he's on this team. He's played so little this year. Like, wait a second, right? That guy and Jake McCabe were one of the best shutdown pairs in the entire NHL last year, and they haven't played at all this year. But yes, this idea, and I think, like everything in life, there's a balance that is optimal. And I think as the Leafs lost, I'm talking 7-8 years ago, when they were losing those playoff rounds, the idea that they're too skilled, too soft, not enough playoff, air quotes, kind of players. And they have so slowly been chasing that version, the playoff-style heavy team, for like 7-8 years. And you look at the guys they pick up, guys at the trade deadline, they're always trying to find that bit of jam and grit. And you forget, at some point, you need the puck to play the game. And, last year was driven a lot by goaltending, power play, star players. Some of that's dropped off, but a lot of it is, Frankie, as you know, they never get the puck out of their own end cleanly. And when you just don't get it there, you force yourself to defend, goaltending's average, all of a sudden the team is not bad. I mean, they're going to get 90 points, but they're not good. And I think that's the unfortunate realization of this team right now as they are built is that they're fine, but they're not really good. And I think that's sort of where they're at.
So quickly, Johnny, on that, if you're moving forward from here, are you better off trying to shut some players down and stuff and go farther down in the standings because of that first-round pick that's top 5 protected? Or, what do you think the thought process should be? You just mentioned, they're not that bad of a team. They're going to get 90-plus points or 90 points or whatever. That's somewhere in the murky middle. Do you want to be murky middle, or do you want to try and get a little bit lower and do a retool, kind of like we saw the Habs do a couple years ago? We saw Boston do it last year.
I mean, the murky middle is the absolute worst, especially when you plan on being good. So that's a troubling place to be. Yes, Noodle, I think ideally you get in the bottom 5, because the worst thing that could happen for the Leafs is finish, 27th? 26th and give up the 6th or 7th pick and watch Carson Karls go to whoever, to Boston, as a first-round pick. That would be the absolute worst. But I don't know, Noodles, with the amount of time left and the state of the Western Conference, that they'll be able to get to the bottom 5. Yeah. I think they might be, unfortunately, with the team they have, even if they make trades, Lawton, McMahon, Carlo, OEL, whoever. I'm just throwing names out there. If they trade all those guys, I don't think they bottom out fast enough to get to a bottom 5 pick, even if you could say, all right, listen, guys, in the boardroom, the best case scenario for the Leafs is we're going to miss the playoffs. Let's be the worst team in the league, right? That's always the best case scenario. I just don't think they can get there.
Johnny, how do you see the Morgan Rielly conundrum playing out here? Where does this go with Morgan Rielly?
How about that goal? Thank goodness that was offside, because that was a tough one. The one where, he fell down, it happens, but it was really a comedy of errors. I don't know if they're going to be able to unwrap that this year. I mean, Morgan Rielly has to waive. Obviously, he's got control. Other teams got to be willing to absorb his contract. The way he's playing, I don't necessarily see a Stanley Cup contender thinking, we got to go get Morgan Rielly right now with the term left on his contract. So I think it's a summer deal. It's when a cap goes up deal. It's when the Leafs might have to eat a little bit of his salary or offer a sweetener or take back another contract that's not perfect from another team. But it feels like, and I say this, we always put this caveat out there for Mo, with great respect to him and his time. He's been one of the most productive defensemen of all time for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. He's been a great ambassador for the organization. Been a great leader, a great person to be around. Given what they're asking him to do, it almost feels like for the organization, it's maybe best if they found a way to get a change of scenery for him. But I don't think it can happen this year, Hayes. I think it's got to be in a more flexible time, and maybe when Morgan can get to the summer and get away and sort of reset himself and open his mind up to going and playing somewhere else, which is not easy to do after 10, 12 years. But it feels almost like it has to happen that way.
Johnny, if we are talking next Friday at 3:30 p.m. and the trade deadline has come and gone, what would have had to happen for the Toronto Maple Leafs to you be on the desk doing your Sports Center hit to wrap things up and say, the Maple Leafs nailed this deadline, they got an A+ from me? What would have to happen on that day?
Trade their unrestricted free agent guys, and then A+, a move or two, Frankie, that catches off guard. And I don't know about OEL because he's been so good, but if you can get a first rounder or a top prospect for guys like that, and maybe one other sort of surprising move that you're like, okay, that looks like it has chance to pay dividends perhaps next year or into the future. I think they get a passing grade if it's just sort of McMahon and maybe Scott Lawton, the UFA guys. But if they can do a bit more than that, and with those moves, sort of signify where they're going, because I don't know if this organization is yet ready to turn the page from this group. I don't know if they're ready to say it's the group. If they had their run, it's not there now, or will they think, you know what, off year, lots of injuries, goaltending, we do some tinkering and come back next year will be really good. I think I need to see something that says not that, Frankie. If they do those things, then you say that's a pretty successful day.
Yeah, it's got to be, like, at the bare minimum, does it not have to be McMahon, Lawton, Yarncroke, if you can find someone to take Troy Stecher because he's a good depth defenseman. And then I think these guys that are off the board, like, if you could clear money, that's great. But if you could convince someone that you need Nick Waugh and he's got a year left of term, so that, is an asset. Like, that's something that maybe is off the radar a little bit, but you look at it and you're like, that's helpful for next year perhaps.
Is there anybody with term that you would, that you would be like, okay, we could find a spot for type of thing? I think
you mean them bringing someone in?
No,
moving them out.
Like a Max Domi, might be coveted by teams. A guy.
Carlo's got a year left, right?
Yeah,
Domi's got 2 years left.
If you could move Max, you would. Part of the problem, guys, is that think about the names you just said. If you can move Carlo, Lawton, Waugh, these are all guys they made massive moves and paid a massive price for, and that doesn't make it not the right decision. It is, but if you trade those guys away for pennies on the dollar, it's not a great look for the person who brought them in, paying a premium, and sending them out paying a discount. So it's that would be what you might have to do. But Brad Treliving is saying, hang on, we gave a first rounder and Fraser Minton for Brandon Carlo, and we just traded him away for a fourth rounder. Like, that's not a great 1 year asset management class, but we'll see what happens there. But yes, term, those guys you just mentioned. Basically Austin, Willie, Tavares, Nyes, McCabe, Tanev because he's hurt, are all not going anywhere. What about Noodles? Could there be a market for a goalie?
That's what I was just going to bring up. Yeah,
which is great. And I think, I don't know if it's because Stolar's had an injury-plagued year, your mind shifts to keeping Woll, he's younger or whatever. But could you trade a goaltender and really help yourself as well going in the future? That would be something you'd have to consider. I think you got to consider all of it, really.
And keep in mind, starting next season, you're going to lose a goaltender on waivers if you don't. Correct? Like you're
right.
Hildeby needs waivers. So at the end of the day,
he's on waivers. That's right.
Right. So you're going to by next October 10th, we'll call it. One of those guys is not going to be available to you because of if you can't put them on waivers, they'll get plucked. So one of them's got to go by October 10th. So again, this could be an off-season situation. But I don't think you're going to slide Hildeby through waivers next year. So
no, I don't think you will.
I think
they know that.
It's a very good point, and get proactive on it then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to lose one of them, and whether it's trading Hildeby now or trading one of the other guys now, and if you could eat salary and I don't know, put Stolars into Edmonton or some team desperate for a goaltender, I don't know. You never, they're in a different spot. They got to get creative. It is not sort of nibble around the edges. They got to take bigger chunks to change the dynamic of this team.
Absolutely. The next week is paramount. Like Brad Treliving, he's got to ace it. He has to. You can't just come out of it saying, it wasn't a market. Oh, we re-signed Bobby McMahon, traded one piece, and we're moving on. That will be a disaster. Yeah. All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there. We'll do it early next week.
All right, fellas. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll talk next week.
You got it. Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. More on this as we move forward. Other teams obviously playing. You saw Schaefer last night for the Islanders. And what's going on with that kid and how well he's playing. And OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Bruce Boudreau coming up. The World Baseball Classic right around the corner. Ohtani's already over in Japan. And this guy, man, like we talk about what it must be like to be Austin Matthews in Toronto or, Mahomes in Kansas City or LeBron in L.A. There is nothing on earth like Shohei in Tokyo. Or
What's he got going on over there? What's he doing? Is he front and center, or is he trying to stay out of it?
No, he's front and center. They're prepping for the WBC, so there's four groups, and Japan's group is playing in Tokyo. So I think it's there's Japan, I want to say Puerto Rico, and 2 groups in the U.S. One's in Houston, one's in Miami, I think it is. I'm pretty sure Canada's in Puerto Rico. I believe that's where their group is. So he's over there prepping for it, and he's just getting ready. And he's doing, it's like batting practice, and there's like 60,000 people at the Tokyo Dome, I think, just going nuts.
Isn't that crazy?
He gets more people than Taylor Swift at that stadium just to do batting practice. I'll bet you anything.
That's a great question. Although it's not technically packed, you can literally see empty seats. Right. But there are a lot of people there.
You just jammed me up. You said there was 60,000 people there.
There's a lot of people there. A lot of people.
There is a famous video of him knocking it right out of the Tokyo Dome, right? Correct? Like through the roof. That's not AI, correct?
No, that's the ones we're watching right now. Is that what you're talking about?
No. There was one years ago before he came over, where I think he put it like through the roof.
I think you're right, Noodles. I believe that's a legit video.
I always worry when you say stuff like that. They're like, that was AI. You're an idiot. And
I know.
But see if you can find it. I swear I've watched it 20 times where he like literally they're like put it through the roof of the Tokyo. I think it was the Tokyo Dome.
Great poll question though. Who would sell out tickets faster? Taylor Swift, Tokyo Dome, or Ohtani batting practice for 3 hours, because it's got to match the length of like.
And he'll do it the way Tiger does his driving range sessions with the microphone, and he'll talk to you and tell you everything. It's
fully interactive BP.
Shohei in concert.
Shohei batting practice concert. Mail-in Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP, where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you get it all in 20 minutes or less. Fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN app and up on YouTube Live.
Australian Grand Prix on TSN and TSN Plus.
It's Mail It In Friday.
The plant called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in Monday.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Frankie Corrado, our buddy Bruce Boudreau coming up. We got some video from the Combine, NFL Combine we'll get to later on. Sounds like Quinn Hughes is going to be on SNL tomorrow night.
Oh. That'll be interesting.
I don't know. Is he going to be able to act? Is it a cameo? Is he going to be what? I don't think of Quinn Hughes as a guy that screams personality in Hollywood.
Remember Wayne Gretzky on The Young and Restless? This is Wayne from our Edmonton operation.
Yeah.
He steps in there. It's tough, man. I love Wayne, but it's tough. Like that goes back like late 80s. And
right.
It was,
well, he hosted SNL too, and I think it was pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but it just like there's. I wonder who would be like the best actor. Like, from players and the biggest person.
Rich Dickie Clune, when I played with him, like he used to take acting classes and lessons.
Really?
Yes. Yeah,
cool.
He did a movie and everything. Rich can act. Like you could throw him in a Hollywood movie, guaranteed.
Sean Avery, I think, is in. Sean Avery was in a movie I saw. I can't remember which one it was, but Sean Avery was in there. And
that's right.
I could see Avery doing that.
Yeah, he's
like it
got
may
a big
be
personality.
Quinn pulls it off. I'm guessing it's maybe I don't even know who's hosting. Like I actually have no idea who's hosting or who the musical guest is tomorrow. But I wonder if it's one of those he's going to be in the crowd kind of thing.
And they just give him love type of thing.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, what an Olympic game. Hey, look who it is, Quinn Hughes. And he has a quick line, and it's kind of awkward, and he gets it off, and they give him a clap, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
It would be, listen, celebrate it, whatever. It's not like he shouldn't be nervous. Just go and say the line or
You'd
whatever.
be nervous, though, man.
I
It's a
think
live
we all
show.
would be. I mean,
it's
but
not something we're used to, right? Like that's not our world.
I'd be so nervous.
I've been to Saturday Night Live.
I know you
twice.
weren't on Saturday Night Live.
No, as a fan, I was. The coolest part is I went to the early taping is an hour and a half. The run through, and then live at midnight. So it's like 9:30 to 11, and then that's 90 minutes, and then they chop some, and then you go live at midnight. I went to John Travolta was the host, and Seal was the musical guest, and then the other one was Janet Jackson, and she was the musical and the
That's
the
pretty
host.
cool.
So I was live in the studio audience twice, and it was. And Farley was kicking around. Like Chris Farley.
Yeah,
that's
prime time.
It was unreal.
I'll bet you I can guess the song Seal sang. I think he's only got 2 songs I've ever heard. Kiss by a Rose.
Kiss from a Rose, yeah, that one. Yeah,
that's 100% the one he
for
definitely
sure.
started with.
Janet Jackson was cool, but the cool part was sitting right there, and they have the sets all different, all, kind of one on the left, one on the right, all of that type of stuff, and they just spin the cameras over. And Farley Norm Macdonald warmed the crowd up. So he came out and did like 20 minutes of stand-up and just like chatted with everybody. And then you get into the mood. It was awesome.
That's cool. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
I'm getting word from someone at TSN saying that Sean Avery might have been in the Maurice Richard movie, The Rocket.
Okay.
Our boy Sammy Cicerello coming through.
Oh, Sammy
for us.
But he also, I swear to God, he was like in a movie like a, like not a made-for-TV one. Like it was like I can't remember. It was like a war movie. It was a war movie.
One movie where all the hockey players went. It was This Is 40 or something, where they're at the bar. There was one where Scott Hartnell was in it. I want to say Jeff Carter.
Oh yeah. That was like it was a Farrelly Brothers movie.
Yeah,
like
they were all at the bar with. Anyway, I remember them being in that. But
hey, the most famous Seabass.
Yes, Cam Neely, of course,
by far the most famous.
That's the most famous cameo. But
yes.
Kick his ass, Seabass.
Well, speaking of Jim Carrey, are you seeing what's going on online with him?
Dude, I didn't know you were going to bring this up, but that's not Jim Carrey, is it?
So there is a video of him, I believe, at like at the France movie festival or something, like not Cannes or whatever it is, but claiming it's Jim Carrey. But the video does not look like it looks like 90% of Jim Carrey, but it looks like he's either had substantial work done or that's a body double. That it's not him.
It's Timu. It's Timu Jim Carrey.
Yeah, there's something not right there.
That is funny.
And I think the interesting thing about it is, like, Jim Carrey, I believe, Noodles, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, likes to be low profile, fly under the radar. He's not out and about. And this dude is doing, like, he's doing the facial expressions, he's doing the body movements, he's like soaking it up, he's eating it up, and everyone's like, wait a second, Jim Carrey doesn't do that.
It's like an impersonator you'd see on like Hollywood Boulevard or something.
Yeah, like the fake, like the stunt double for these guys. You guys know I'm friends with Lauren Hawley.
Yeah,
like, she was texting me last night about the Leafs. She was so mad.
She's a big Leaf fan.
Huge Leaf fan, and she lives in Toronto.
Furious.
Yeah, we should have her on at some point.
Love that.
She was. But when you mention Jim Carrey, I think of Lauren, right?
Absolutely. Mary Swanson's one of the great love interests in the history of television.
It's actually one of the best characters of all time.
Of all time.
Think?
Dude,
phenomenal.
How did we forget this when we're talking about hockey players being in movies? Bruce Boudreau was in Slapshot.
That's right.
That's right.
Bruce was in Slapshot.
Was he in Youngblood too, or was I feel like Bruce
Steve Thomas was in Youngblood, maybe?
Yeah, because I think they taped that at Ted Reeve. I think it was.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I just spent the whole day at the rink today. My son had 3 games in a day tournament.
How many games?
3.
Wow, that's a lot for a Friday. 2.
1 at 10, 1 at 1, and 1 at 3. I missed the 3 o'clock I watched on that live barn.
Yeah.
Boy, they got rinsed. Chris Campoli's team is
just
running
them through the
and these kids are hold on, these kids are 8. They're 8.
They're 8, and I was watching. Even Steph called. She goes, "Ugh, this ain't going so well."
Yeah, that's not good.
It's tougher for you because Quinn's a goalie, right?
Yeah,
so you live and die by every goal.
They're 8. I just want them to be 8. I was talking to some of the coaches from Guelph and all of that. Like, everyone there seems to get it for the most part. There was a guy with a cowbell and the guy with a drum, and there's some intense ones, but it was a great tournament. A lot of great kids, a lot of fun. But man, oh man,
we should go down to St. Catharines one year and run some stations in the Bruce Boudreau hockey camp. Like, all 3 of us, including O, put the wheels on, and we'll run the drills for Bruce on a sheet of ice.
Great idea. I'm sure Bruce would love that. To rely on us to boost his reputation. Here he is, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us on the Maple Toyota Hotline. There's Bruce Boudreau. How you doing, Bruce?
I'm good, and I would love it, because then I wouldn't go on the ice. I'd go, you guys are on your own.
I like that idea. Yeah, I mean, that's got to keep you young, doesn't it, Bruce? Getting out there and every once in a while seeing the kids get through it.
It's really great, except the patience is a little thinner than it used to be. When you got 40 kids on the ice at a time running around, it used to be, we got an hour, let them run. Now it's like you're all over them all the time. I get a quick story before you start. Jamie, you were talking about your kid's a goalie.
Yeah.
My kids played goal too, the one kid. And when he was 8, he was a defenseman, and he'd come home and he'd say, "Dad, our goalie's no good. We're getting beat 10 or 12 goals every game. Do you think I could try goal?" And I said, "Yeah, go ahead, Brady. I'll ask the coach." And so they put him in the next day, and they score 14 on him. And we get in the car, and he says, "I had no defense in front of me."
That's perfect. You got to blame someone else.
I love it. You know what?
Gotta be.
At that age, it's just about having fun and developing and all that. But yeah, I don't sit there and blame anybody. And you know what? These kids have a lot of fun, and they're for me, you forget about these tournaments, right? Like, it's all about mini sticks and all of that type of stuff.
It's intense, man. I'm with you. Like, my young kids are playing. You just want them to do well. Like, just do well. Everyone do well. Be in the game. Try to get a win. Celebrate. Be happy. It's more. I get caught yelling out like offside. Like I'm on the refs, not yelling at the refs.
No, but yeah.
Instinctively, like that's an ice, and it's like, who am I talking to? I'm in the stands. Like the guy, they're not listening to me, and they're going to call it, and they know it better than I do. Anyway, we're getting obviously in a weird place with the NHL right now, Bruce, because we're a week away from the trade deadline. But we talked a lot about the Leafs. I want to get to the Leafs in a moment with you. But McDavid hit 100 points last night, which is just incredible. I mean, he's had 4 points now in 2 games. He had a goal and an assist last night, 2 assists in the first game. 100 points. Outside of his rookie year when he got hurt and the COVID year, this is what he does in his sleep. You know, where do you see him going? You know, when this is all said and done, he's not going to catch Gretzky in terms of points. I think it's impossible. But do you think we're talking 2,000 plus points, and like how crazy could it get with McDavid?
Well, I mean, I think it could be in the 2,000 or very close to it because I think Gretzky holds the record for 15 100-point seasons. I was reading today, and that to me is within his grasp. I mean, if he's going to play at least 6 more years, he'll still be 35. He's in great shape. But if he could do that, I don't think anybody's going to get 2,800 points, but he'll be the next guy to get 2,000.
Yeah, I think it feels like a lock, man. And I mean, he's got 22 games left. He's at 100 points. He's going to cruise past 130, 135. Right, like this year. 100. But I was looking at it last night, and I know it's been a 2-horse race for the Art Ross pretty much all year. Kucherov's 5 points behind him. Like Kucherov is on the heater of heaters. Do you think he could beat him this year? Do you think Kucherov, he's got games in hand on McDavid, he's 5 points back. Do you think Kucherov could end up winning the Art Ross?
I really do believe he could. I mean, I think he's averaging for the last 20 games or something, 2.5 points a game. So, I mean, if he can keep that pace up, and listen, we saw Tampa against the Leafs the other night, and they're so good right now. Like, I mean, they made that game look so easy for them, and he's getting 2-3 points every game. I do believe that Kucherov could win the Art Ross, and he could win the Hart this year the way Tampa's going.
Bruce, I saw Matthew Schaefer last night live in Montreal, and he put on quite the performance. He had a 2-goal game. The Islanders came from behind and won, and now set the record for most goals by an 18-year-old defenseman in NHL history. You have a lot of experience coaching young defensemen, veteran defensemen. What do you see in this kid that has allowed him to have this much success, this much confidence as an 18-year-old, where usually you're in survival mode? This guy, he's a predator out there.
Yeah, and I've never seen anybody like him, to be quite honest. I mean, I had Mike Green, but Mike Green was 22, 23 years old when he scored 30 goals. And, I mean, for an 18-year-old, it's so hard to imagine what he's doing, especially, like, the biggest thing for me is he's only played 17 games last year as a 17-year-old. And then jumps into the NHL, plays 24 to 25 minutes a night, and it looks like he's gonna continue to do this for years and years and years. And he's lifted the whole Islander organization up. I mean, it's a different mindset on that team. It's a different. They play differently, and to me, it's all on Schaefer. He's come in here and turned this organization totally right around. And I don't know what the limit is. I mean, I was just talking to somebody at the office, at the NHL offices today, and I think he's going to get 25 goals this year. He's on the pace for 25 goals. And as an 18-year-old, that's hard to fathom. Those are going to be ending up like Paul Coffey numbers when it's all said and done. So it's what he's done is amazing. And the way he scored those goals back to back, he tied Phil Housley, and then he broke him, 20 seconds later? It seemed like that record's gone. That's quick. See you later.
So Bruce, you look at that Islander team, given that they've got Sorkin in net, given that they've got Schaefer now as a cornerstone piece, do you think, with how wide open potentially the East is, the Islanders would be, serious buyers at the deadline to try and get to that next level?
Well, Matthew Darche has bought a couple players, or made a couple little changes so far. I would think that they make one more. I think that when they look at it realistically, they look like they could be they could win one round. I don't think they'd win 2 rounds in their division. I think Carolina is still the better team, but they definitely could win one round. I don't know if one great player would make the big difference, but they're definitely on the uprise. And I mean, if it would take one trade to win one round, I'd certainly try to do it. And then when you're in the final 8, anything can happen. But I think that would be about their limit with what they have this year.
With Bruce Boudreau. So the Leafs obviously did not come out of their Olympic break with much intensity or any winning for that matter. They got beat up against Tampa and Florida. And everyone's trying to put their finger on why this is. You know, is it talent? Is it system? Is it a shot at the coach? Is it that they're not good enough? Is it that the teams are more inspired? Like, where do you go first in terms of, now that we've seen it, right? We projected for 2 weeks. How are the Leafs going to come out of the gate? Massive games, back-to-back Tampa, Florida. They've been played now. We know it. We've seen it. We watched it. What did you take out of those 2 games, first and foremost, when you consider where the Leafs are right now?
Well, first and foremost, I thought they would come out better. But, I mean, they could have lost that game 6-0 in Tampa very easily. I mean, they had the 2 goals in the first period called back, and Gensel misses an open net that would have made it 4-0 and would have cleared the day. They get 2 late goals, and that's fine. And then the first 10 minutes, they're down 3-0 in Florida. I mean, there was just no excitement in their team. There's no jump. I couldn't understand it, and I come to the conclusion watching both those games, they're just not good enough. They're good enough to compete against the Ottawas and you know the teams that are in the mid range, but the better teams, they're not good enough. And that was one of those games in Florida when Florida said, "Hey, if we don't start winning, we're done." And so they're giving it the old college try right now. I remember when they won 6 out of 7 3 years ago and ended up going to the finals. But, I mean, I think they're sitting back there and going, okay, boys, we've had our time. We better win. And they did. And they just put the pedal down, and the Leafs couldn't handle it. And Tampa's power play made the Leafs penalty killing look so sick the night before. I mean, I was sitting there cringing, like I'm going, come on, boys, let's get her done. And they couldn't do it. I'm sure they were trying and doing what they could, but they're just not good enough, I think, right now to get it done.
Bruce, we were talking earlier in the show about Easton Cowan and how, you know, he hasn't played these last 2 games coming out of the break. How's that situation to handle if you're a coach? It's a young player, team's losing a little bit. Fans would be saying, listen, this guy's got to get in. He shouldn't be sitting out. Is it one of those things where, and we were talking about this, where once the trade deadline passes and the players that are gone, he just plays the rest of the way? How does that situation get addressed in your mind?
Well, I mean, as a coach, I always had the rule that if you can't play 12 minutes, we got to send you to the minors, especially when you're a young kid. Like, I mean, he's not developing. I don't care what anybody says. I think that was 6th game in a row he sat out. I mean, from before the break and after the break. Like, I mean, it's doing him no good as a 20-year-old sitting in the stands. He's got to play. And whether it's after the break and you decide that you're not going to win, you play him a lot, or you send him to the Marlies and let him play 25 minutes a game and get better, so that when it comes this time next year, he's a star on the team, or at least a regular top 9 forward. But it does no good for a 20-year-old to sit in the stands. There's no development there. And listen, you can tell me all about that. He's playing with better guys in practice and that, but it's not like the games. So, I mean, I think he's got to at some point play.
Bruce, you know, in terms of the situation with the coach, Craig Berube, who, you know, they had a great year last year. Now he's into his 2nd year. It's been a real struggle all season long. There was such a focus on these 2 games coming out of the gate. He had 10 days on the ice, give or take. I'm sure he was hammering away on what he thought they needed to do, and they fall flat and they play that way. What do you think is running through his mind right now in terms of how he can get his players going, in terms of his security, all of that? How would he be handling this?
Well, I mean, he's probably worried about it all. Like, I mean, as a coach, you worry 24 hours a day on what you're going to do the next day to get them going, and because you have to change their mindset if they're losing, and if they're winning, they got to keep it going. But I mean, this year is sort of gone. Everything that went right last year in the regular season has gone wrong this year. The goalies aren't making the saves that they made last year. The team is not coming from behind and winning like they did last year. So Craig's trying everything he knows. He's looking at his book of things to do and trying to pull his rabbit out of a hat, and nothing seems to be working where everything was working last year. I mean, he didn't get stupid over the summer. I know that thing, and he's a good coach. He's a real good coach, but it's not working. So what do you do? Is the message not getting through? I don't know. I'm not in the room. So you really have to take a long step and saying, is this the guy that we're going to win with in the future? I think you can if you change the players a little bit. But I mean, it goes through your mind. I know. When I was in my last year in Vancouver, I thought about it every day, that I knew I was getting let go, but you just didn't want it to happen. And so you were wondering about it, and you worried about it, and you couldn't sleep at night. And I'm wondering if that's going through his mind. I don't know if it is or if it isn't.
Bruce, before we get you out of here, we were talking about acting before you came on, and, hockey players in movies and stuff like that. Do you want to take us through your Slapshot appearance? And also, didn't you tell us before that one of the scenes was shot in your apartment?
Wait, first of all, what do you mean appearance? I was like there.
You were the star.
It wasn't a cameo. It wasn't a cameo. I was looking. I was still looking for my name but it's not there. No, you know what? And they did shoot a scene in my apartment, and the way that worked is like when you see the dressing room in Johnstown, it wasn't very big. But George Roy Hill came in one day and he said, "Listen, we got to do a scene with Paul Newman. Like, don't forget, it's 1976. It's not like it is now. They used to shoot them this quickly, and they said, we got to shoot a scene in an apartment. Who has the messiest apartment in town? And everybody stood up at the same time and pointed to me. And that's how my apartment got in the movie.
Perfect. Well, it looked great. And I thought it was shot beautifully.
It did.
Too.
They cleaned it up. I think it was the first time it got cleaned in 6 months. But I mean, they cleaned it up. It was awesome.
Beautiful. Send them an invoice. You should 50 years later.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Bruce. Great catching up with you. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
All right. Take care. Thanks, guys.
There's Bruce Boudreau on the Maple Toyota video line. Joining us here. It's time to Toyota. The 2025 Prius. Go up to 72 kilometers on battery alone, then seamlessly switch to hybrid mode. Check it out at Maple Toyota right near Canada's Wonderland in the Maple Auto Mall.
I saw his camera go off the rails there.
Dude, when it flipped and then his glasses were off, I was like, this is like the Jim Carrey thing. It's not Bruce. It's like there's a body double.
And by the end, it was like right up against his face. And I was like,
it's the greatest video work we've ever. Joe from the Bridge is like Spielberg back there. Like, he's like, God, where am I going next? It's like, those famous shots in movie where they're like, we have one shot at this.
Yeah.
Right. The budget, it's going to cost us $25 million.
Yeah.
We have to get it right.
Yeah, it's like a stunt where something blows up and you got to get it right.
You're on it. And that's the Bruce video's in. It's like
the one in Goodfellas. It's the one in Goodfellas where Henry Hill is taking his girl into the restaurant through the back entrance, and he's got to grease everyone on the way in, and they set up the table. One shot all the way through.
The toughest shot in TV, but it's the best shot. And it's just a perfect way to set the tone for the weekend. We love seeing Bruce. Mail-in Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Best bet still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, so we had Mike Johnson on last hour, and Johnny was talking about the Combine in Indianapolis, the NFL Combine. And it's always amazing how much content comes out of that, where, like, football is such an engine. Like, the Super Bowl was a couple weeks ago, and people are back, like, starving for NFL content. And the draft in and of itself, mixed in with free agency, is a whole different beast.
Yeah.
You know, we're into free agent season. That opens up in a week, and then you've got the draft in a couple of months, and that's going to be crazy. So the NFL never really slows down. But the Combine is always pretty incredible because, like, the whole league is there. All the prospects are there, coaches, GMs, etc. And there's cameras everywhere. So, you know, I believe every team probably has their own suite set up, you know, so that that's your home base for the week or whatever, all 32 teams. And you'd have access to the field if you want it. A lot of times the coaches, remember that famous Belichick pick with the binoculars or whatever? He's at Lucas Oil and he's up there and he's just watching different players. And the Jets head coach, Aaron Glenn, was up in his suite and the Combine was going on and the NFL Network's talking and Rich Eisen, I believe, was on the desk. And we should play it because while the athletes are working, Aaron is 100% falling asleep.
Yes.
And then he wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm on TV. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting 40 time. Like, I know that move because that's my move. That was my move. I know that move from high school days, dozing off. Everyone's been there. The hand on the cheek where the eyes are going, you're out. You're asleep.
Yeah, you're exactly. You're just hanging on by a thread. That's what you're doing.
It's just impossible to explain it because he's going to try to. He'll say, no, I was looking down. No, you weren't. Everyone knows exactly what you're doing. You're falling asleep.
Not when you jolt yourself awake, man. Like, if it was a little bit gradual, you could do the arm and like, oh, there I am.
Right.
When you jolt, dude, You were about to fall into a REM cycle, and your body stopped you and said you should not be going there now.
Yeah.
Precisely. Exactly that. Because you're right. The veterans know how to get out of that, making it look normal, right? You can pretend you were looking down. When you wake up and you realize, okay, you got to kind of ease up and do a little right to left look and then nod your head as if you're reading something. Being jolted like that and then seeing yourself on camera, because it's the Jets, it's going to be impossible for him to overcome. It's not a fireable offense, but it's like you can't be falling asleep at the Combine, dude. Your team didn't make the playoffs. You were pretty horrendous in your first year. The Jets have an awful reputation to begin with. Now you're falling asleep at the Combine.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
You can't
not a
have
good look.
it, man.
It's the most Jets thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Like, you draft a great player, you draft high, and then that's the organization they're going into, where they fall asleep at the Combine when they're evaluating these types of things. Why do you think nothing works out?
Well,
right?
you know
gotta
what's
have a
going to
great
happen.
draft. Guys falling asleep.
You know what's going to happen. They're going to draft somebody, and the person is a dud or something, and then they're going to go back and say, well, this is why. The guy was dead asleep.
Yeah.
You know, Glenn was dead asleep when he was evaluating it, right?
Dozing off. Can't blame him. I'm sure it's like perfect room temperature, and he's probably there all day. It's got to be incredibly boring watching people run 40s, you know, and do the 3-point, you know, drill and all that kind of stuff. But that's the job.
It's your job, man.
And the cameras are around.
It's boring.
Man. You got to know the cameras are around. You have to be.
Yeah.
Ready
If you're a player, are you not like going through that whole process and being like, Jets, please don't draft me. Like, it seals your fate of who you are going to be as a player, as an athlete, your career earnings. Like, just don't do it, man, please.
Which is crazy because it's New York. Like, you would think that's a place you're dying to be. You know, like there's something magical about New York. But, yeah, the Jets, Browns, you know, I'm sure I could think of two or three.
What would be the team that you don't want to be drafted to in pro sports? Is there a list for you guys?
If Hazy could do one day do a 5-pack of like teams you don't want to be drafted by in pro sports, the 4 major sports leagues. That
would be number one on your list off the top of your head, Brian? Like number
Jets.
one.
It's Jets or Browns. It's the Browns for me. Browns.
But the
Browns.
it would be NFL Browns. It wouldn't be Sacramento in the NBA. Like
I
the
would
NBA,
think like Charlotte in the NBA, maybe.
Charlotte would be very close. I think Washington has been a complete disaster for a long time. The Wizards have been really, truly atrocious. The Kings, just because, they just never get it right, and they just kind of blend in.
Right.
Those would be my 3 teams in the NBA, I think. New Orleans.
I was thinking Pittsburgh in Major League Baseball, but then Skeens is there, and you're that's not a bad place to be right now. And he was, he's.
But they're not a great team. Like Oakland, although they're going to Vegas, but prior to Vegas, I would say Oakland would be high on that list over the last 5 or 6 years.
Doogie just jumped in with the White Sox.
White Sox.
Yeah, but Chicago's a great city.
That's the thing.
It is a great city.
It is, and like even in Oakland, they find. You mentioned Skeens. You can go anywhere if you're a good enough player, and you can still thrive.
Right.
And then get out. Unfortunately, it kind of feels
actually except the Jets or the Browns, because you go there and you're not good there.
You're not good there, and the way the NFL works, you're probably going to stay, and they can franchise tag you, and it's an owners' league. The players don't have a ton of power to get themselves out of trouble. Like, what I mean by that is demand out. You're not going anywhere. Like, thanks. We will take that into consideration. We'll see you next week. You're playing for the Jets. So, Jets, Browns. I can think of a few NBA teams. NHL teams, I would have said Buffalo prior to this most recent run.
Yeah.
Like the last 10 years, it would have been
14
Buffalo.
years, no playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
Buffalo's been Buffalo for sure.
A black hole, but they've turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
I think they play tonight. Don't they play the Panthers?
They're in Florida tonight.
Yeah. So I mean, scoreboard watching is fascinating for me. Like watching, every night, and that you're going to be down the stretch here, watching, who's winning, who's not, and leading up even for the next week. I keep is there 5 definitive sellers right now in the NHL?
I think so.
Easily.
For sure. I think I can come up with 10.
Yeah, I think it's Vancouver, it's the Rangers, it's St. Louis, it's Calgary, and it's, I guess, Winnipeg has to be a seller.
Winnipeg should be. Winnipeg's the same as the Leafs. I don't know why it's not louder there. Maybe it is. But they are the exact same. You've been very good for a long time. You've had a terrible year. It's been a disaster. You got to take advantage of this to turn some things in and out.
Did you guys see the trade bait board that came out today? And it's like St. Louis has it all covered. You want the goalie, you want the captain, you want the young center, you want the young winger. It's like apparently it's all up for grabs in St. Louis. Just what's the price going to be?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Vancouver's the same thing. Like Vancouver and St. Louis appear to be wide open. New York, I think so as well. Like Adam Fox is being asked about it. Like, would you be open to a trade? Do you think you're going to be here long term?
Thing is, you got to be careful on some of those players. Like, there's reputation, but then there's also what can that player bring right now if they're not having a great season, if Father Time is chasing them. Like for me, it's a fascinating case study because there's a lot of big names out there, but are they names or are they players that match the reputation? Because that's where you got to be. That you got to be
is
careful
it just the
on
name
that,
brand?
Right?
Because what are they doing right now? Are you just acquiring what the guy was 2, 3, 4 years ago, and you're getting the name brand, but he's not necessarily playing at that level right now? Or are you getting the guy? That's the thing about this trade deadline is we make such a big deal out of it. Guys are going to get guys that have a little name recognition, but are they actually playing to what we remember that name recognition for at the time?
Are they that player that you expect to be getting? Like, that's the biggest thing. Or is it like, hey, I would love that player when he was 27, but now he's 32. And you're like,
you got less runway, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to make a trade for Nazem Kadri, and you're going to be like, we're in the win now window, and we'll figure out the latter 3 years of this deal afterwards, right? But if you're Minnesota, you look at that and you say, we got to go through some combination of like Dallas and Colorado, and we traded for Quinn Hughes this year, and that's our version of being all in because we got a year and a half with this guy at minimum. Like, why don't we make that kind of deal?
Right.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah, I agree. Like but I Brock Besser's name is out there. Like obviously Vancouver's wide open. Like Pettersson, I think he's a fit in the off season. Like we talked about Morgan Rielly. Like I think those are off season moves where you've got to move money around. He has to make sure that he wants to go there. The organ, is there? I think there's a market for Pettersson, but again, it has to be in a team that feels that he would fit, where he doesn't have to be the guy. It can be a good support guy, that type of stuff. Those aren't. I don't know if they're moves that are made in the next week.
I think one of the things, Jamie, that Pettersson and the deal around him would clog this thing up a little bit is the guy makes $11.6 million. So if you're a team, let's say like Detroit, who wants another centerman, and you look at it and you say, our number one guy, our big horse here has been Dylan Larkin, and he makes 8.7. And this guy's not going to come in. He's not going to take Larkin's ice time. He's not going to play more than him. And we're going to have to pay him $3 million more than our big horse. I think teams might look at that and say, I don't know. Unless the deal's too sweet to pass up, I don't want to mess up my cap structure that much for a guy who's not going to play more than my big dog.
Yeah, it's a huge part of the equation, really. When Bill, this is why the salary cap is so frustrating in a lot of ways, because it is a math equation as much as it is, team building and talent and all that. All the numbers have to work. And if you have, you look at the Canadian teams that are, in a bad place right now, like Vancouver in particular, I'd say Calgary, the Leafs, they have contracts right now that are troublesome. Pettersson is a massive deal. Huberdeau is a massive deal. And the team's not any good. So you have players, and Morgan Rielly's not to the same extent. He's in a different part of his career. He's given them very good value for 10, 11 years. But he's 4 years left at $7.5 million based on the way he's playing right now. It's a very difficult contract to move. It may be unmovable. It may be. I don't know, but it may be unmovable. Pettersson may be unmovable. Huberdeau, I believe, is unmovable. So you're trying to build out your roster and find a way to get creative and adjust on the fly and get better because you want to turn a corner. And you have this elephant in the room on your cap sheet that makes it very difficult.
Right.
Very, very difficult. The Habs don't really have that. I guess maybe Laine, but he's done at the end of the year.
And they'll try and move that money by next Friday.
Yeah, and if they can't delete it, no, it's fine. They're not in cap hell or anything. He'll be done after this year, and they'll move on.
Right.
Ottawa doesn't really have that right now that I can think of. I don't think so.
No, they have good cap. It's spread out,
well-structured.
right? They don't have 3-4 guys making all of it. It's pretty spread out.
Edmonton has it in Nurse. Edmonton's got it in Nurse right now.
Yeah.
But they're good enough to probably get through with it right now, but at some point it may cause them real problems.
The only thing, too, that remind me, the cap was going 95 to what? It's supposed to go to 104 into 110 into 118
Yeah,
into
it's going to be, as of now, it's 95.5, then 104, then 113.5.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the projection
That's the only reprieve, if you're looking ahead on a guy like Pettersson, is – okay, the cap is going up. That might manage some of it. Morgan Rielly's interesting for me because I don't think 7 should scare a team. If you're looking at term and that, if he fits into where you think, if you could bring him in as whatever, a 3 or a 4 or whatever, 7's not going to kill you. And I think he can play and all of that. The 3 players you were talking about, I don't know if Huberdeau, he's had this, they shut him down. I think it's surgery.
He had surgery. Yeah. He's done for the year.
That's
he's
a
got
different,
the hip resurfacing.
that's a different, I put him in a different bucket. I look at Pettersson as maybe needing a different, a change of scenery. And like you said, Brian, 11.5 or 11.6, Frankie. It's a
rank
chunk,
these
right?
for me, presuming health. Okay, let's say they're all healthy because Huberdeau's not right now.
Right.
Pettersson in Vancouver, Huberdeau in Calgary, Nurse in Edmonton, Rielly in Toronto. From easiest to most difficult to move. 1 through 4. Easiest to most difficult. Those 4 players.
Easiest to move, probably. I'll look at it this way. I'll say Darnell Nurse because it's $2 million less than Pettersson. And worst case scenario, I can get a defenseman to play 23, 24, 25 minutes a night, and I can justify some of the money that way. You got to live with some of the ups and downs for sure, but we're talking about some flawed contracts here. So that's why I would say Nurse,
younger too.
Pettersson, Rielly, Huberdeau.
That's your ranking?
Yeah.
Nurse, Patterson, Rielly, Huberdeau. Huberdeau, I think, is clearly fourth.
Throw the contracts out.
Well,
and just no. I'm just here, but hear me out. Who's the best player?
Patterson.
I think it's Patterson, isn't it?
It was Patterson.
It was, and it
was
probably
Patterson.
still is based on potential.
So that's maybe where I look and go, again, maybe a change of scenery where I don't know why Carolina just keeps coming up in my mind with a guy like Patterson. I don't know if he would be a fit or whatever, quieter market, just go play. Mm-hmm. But I look at it, you're right. You can make a case for Huberdeau, for me, that the drop-off was and you could, obviously it's attributed to the injury. So I'm removing him. I'm looking at the three. You make a case for Nurse. I could still make a case for Rielly just because of the number, 7.5, and Morgan. You could still skate. Skating is obviously you've got to be able to keep up in this league. Again, slotted properly, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I was asked the question again. You can't because we're talking about contracts. Who would be the best? Who potentially could have the most upside? Mm-hmm. It might be Patterson if he could get his game back in order, but his game has been gone for a while.
That's the problem.
Guys.
If they knew he could get his game back together, I'd reason with Vancouver would keep him. They need him. They don't have any help up the middle of the ice, none. So that's the problem. Is they're all in different portions of their career. Patterson's still mid to late 20s, but it's been such a massive fall off. Huberdeau, now it's into year 3 and there's injuries,
right.
And that's clearly fourth. And I don't think Calgary. I think he's just going to stick it out and play there. And I don't know what they could possibly do, but yeah, I mean Rielly. I do think there's his skating is not what it was. He has slowed down clearly. He's not as powerful. He doesn't get up in the play anymore like he used to. Maybe that changes somewhere else. Maybe it's a system thing. Maybe he knows I got to defend better, and he's just not capable of doing it. It's stopping him from jumping. I know that was an issue last year, and Berube addressed it at times, privately and publicly with him. But I think Rielly actually could be higher on this list because of that. He's a veteran. You know what you're getting out of him.
That's kind of where I was going. Like
4 years at the cheapest amount of money.
$7 million doesn't scare me, and I just know his character. Like same thing
Nurse
with Darnell
has got
Nurse.
Great character too.
I love Darnell Nurse too,
and everything.
Like the thing is I think Darnell Nurse. Him and Wallman have not played well together, but I think they are good. They're better than what they've shown, put it that way. And so in a downtrend, it's, Evan Bouchard at the start of the year, we're like, what's going on with this guy? He's got 66 points in 60 games. Like
that's crazy.
Like it is crazy. We forget, like we're always focused, and I'm guilty of it as anybody. We're always focused on what these players aren't instead of what they are. And I think if you're honest and say, we're going to focus on what they are good at and then try and, bridge the gap on what they aren't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, when we're talking about players, the Pattersons, the Nurses, into Morgan Rielly, it's how they all assimilate into the organization they're either currently with or into a new environment. And, I like I say, I've got time for all of them. With Patterson, I think it's a new environment. I think
with all of them maybe, but yes.
The other thing with Morgan Rielly, I think we have to keep in mind is that this is a guy who's been playing the minutes of a number one for a long, long time. And we've seen defensemen as they get older accept a different role. Like I think of guys like were drafted really high. Zach Bogosian, Luke Schenn, just two, where it's like they had moments in their career where they were top pair guys that played 22 to 25 minutes a night. And at some point, they evolved into second or third pair guys who played, 12 to 15 to 18 on a good night.
Right.
And maybe that's the step, right? But you have to convince yourself as an athlete that, I'm okay with this, and this is my evolution as a player, and I'm going to accept that. I'm not going to try and play the same way I did and step into this new role. That's what maybe helps Rielly have success.
A big part of it. And, again, those guys, maybe they signed a 3-year, $3 million deal to play that role. I mean, you're still paying them a lot of money, but I do think that is what needs to happen here. Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you get it all in 20 minutes or less. So fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Best Bets coming up. We'll wrap up a busy afternoon. OverDrive continues. TSN app and up on YouTube Live.
on TSN 1050. Your Toronto Maple Leafs renew the Battle of Ontario versus the Ottawa Sens. Coverage starts at 6 p.m.
Johnny Toronto!
Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Leafs live here. Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. We mentioned that Sabres and Panthers game that's going tonight. Now, Panthers back-to-back, but look who we have here. Yes, I love it.
We got an audience for the finish.
As we should.
Yeah?
I love that.
Nice.
Just in time for some gambling advice. That's exactly what.
Get him into it early. Get him into it early.
Precisely what she needs.
We'll build a parlay for their second birthday.
Please do. On the Panthers, we're laying a little juice here. I know Buffalo's been hot, and they're hitting the road here, but Florida, I just get the impression they're going to put a little bit of press on here. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because I just think they're a little bit too far out. The other teams continue to win and play well. But I don't think they're just going to die. I don't think they're just going to put up the white flag and say we're out. So a little bit of juice on that, back-to-back, but both at home. I'm on Florida tonight. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18+, physically located in Ontario. Nice. Do we have only one of the kids there, Frankie?
Yeah, where's the other one?
The other one's got to be around. You got twins.
It's actually turned into a little bit of a gong show. Like, I don't know if you guys want to end the show this way, but, the dog just walked in now.
Perfect.
There's a dog?
You got everything going.
Here's the dog.
Lord, and
what
the dog's
scene.
chewing on the baby. And
That's what we do.
It's a wild time
here.
of night over here, man. We usually have you guys on in the background, and we're just chasing everyone around.
Perfect. That's what it should be. That's the weekend, man. You're ready to rock for the weekend.
Yeah.
Noodles, I'm assuming
Jess,
you
want to bring the other one, Jess?
Yeah, I'll be in the rinks.
Bring everyone in. Get
that.
cameos. This
Come on, bring the other one. Come here.
Love it. Yeah, are you going to be in the rinks too, Hazy, or what?
Yeah, I'll be on the ice tomorrow and Sunday. We're off to Napanee. The Whitby Wolves are into the second round. They had a big win last night, Game 3 under the lights, which was amazing. So there it is, the whole Corrado crew. I love it.
Animal House over there. I love it.
It's wild over here, man. Everyone's got to go see Mom now.
What a scene.
Kids are crying.
So a lot of hockey this weekend. Battle of Ontario tomorrow.
I think the Battle of Ontario, regardless, will always
It'll be
good.
fun. Yeah,
I think
it'll
that'll
be fun. And I think Matthews, they're going to give him a big salute. They should. I think he'll get a big ovation. There'll be some people that will boo and won't be happy or whatever, and that's fine. You pay your money, you go down and do whatever you want. But
Brady got a pretty good
I mean, listen, these are your guys. They went and they played and they won, and they you got to hope they bring the same type of energy to your team moving forward. And I think they, for the most part, will.
They got to bring the same kind of energy that twin, toddler, 2-year-olds bring.
Exactly.
All right, Frank. Good luck with your weekend. Good luck with your weekend. Noodles, enjoy the rinks. I'll be doing the exact same thing. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube Live. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
Yes.